and thank you for joining us for our session titled Trending Issue: Meaningful Research Includes Patients at the Table. My name is Suzanne Ruff, and I'm pleased to introduce this panel session. Professionally, I've been a freelance writer for the Charlotte Observer, and I'm the author of the nonfiction book, The Reluctant Donor. I am a member of the AAKP National Board of Directors, serving as the association's treasurer. I am also a living kidney donor. In my family, over 20 loved ones have battled or are battling a genetic disease called polycystic kidney and liver disease. The disease has claimed the lives of 11 family members, including my mother and a few short months ago, one of my sisters. I am the only sibling who did not inherit kidney disease. People ask me if I feel guilty about that, but I had nothing to do with my genetic makeup. But I do feel a great responsibility, which is why I became involved with AAKP, as did my father 40 years ago. I am obnoxiously passionate about kidneys and supporting families facing rare or genetic conditions which cause kidney failure. I am a staunch advocate for organ donation and living donation for at this point in time, and hope for artificial kidneys in the near future. I often say, when a person has kidney disease, the family has kidney disease. As a family member and living donor, I have had the great opportunity to represent AAKP on various research projects, including being a co-investigator on the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute's project, putting patients at the center of kidney care transitions, also known as Prepare Now. Our work on this project was from 2015 to 2020, and it was an honor to know and work with the patients and other family members like myself. I've also been a key contact for companies supporting AAKP activities, and as a kidney disease subject matter expert on the AAKP Speakers Bureau. More recently, I had the honor of being one of the authors of the article published entitled Engaging Patients and Family Members to Design and Implement Patient-Centered Kidney Disease Research. Over the last 5+ years, AAKP has invested heavily in grassroots and virtual technologies to help patients and their families engage decision makers, researchers, scientists, and other influencers through our Center for Patient Engagement and Advocacy and our Center Patient Research and Education. Through our strategic partnerships with government, academia, and industry, we have been able to connect tens of thousands of new patient voices and their unique patient insights to those responsible for making informed decisions that impact some of the most vulnerable, ill, and underserved populations in the country. AAKP is building our capacities to better organize patients, address inequities, and to make certain patients have an even greater impact on issues related to care choice and innovation. Throughout the speaker presentations, it will demonstrate that AAKP is leading the way in engaging kidney patients, like you listening, across the disease spectrum in meaningful research and introducing you to a number of researchers and professionals who know the true meaning of patient engagement. It is more than a check off the box. It's the ability to put the independent patient voice at the research and policy table where it rightly belongs to drive a far larger and more representative number of patients in efforts that are already shaping the future of kidney disease treatment and public policy. Please join me in welcoming Melissa West, Senior Director for Strategic Relations and Patient Engagement with the Alliance for Kidney Health at the American Society of Nephrology. Melissa, I turn it over to you.
I would like to thank AAKP for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Melissa West. I am Senior Director of Strategic Relations and Patient Engagement at the ASN Alliance for Kidney Health. And I'm here to talk to you about a new project that we're working on to incorporate patient preferences into the development of novel kidney replacement therapy. So just to level set everyone, the Kidney Health Initiative is a public-private partnership between the American Society of Nephrology, the Food and Drug Administration, and the kidney community. It was established in September of 2012 to catalyze innovation in the development of safe and effective patient-centered therapies for people living with kidney disease. There are more than 100 member organizations, again, across a swath of stakeholders, both industry, patient groups, healthcare professionals, that make up the Kidney Health Initiative as the largest consortium in kidney disease. Our federal partnership, as mentioned, is with the Food and Drug Administration, and we have the opportunity to work across the Center for Drugs, the Center for Biologics, the Center for Devices, and the Center for Food Safety. In addition, we also have the opportunity to work with Centers for Medicare, Medicaid, NIH, and CDC. So in addition to the 100-member organization, we have our federal partners who are also critical to the success of all of our initiatives. So what I'm here to talk to you a little bit today is patient preferences and how best to collect them as a part of the device development process. So what is patient preference information? This is a qualitative or quantitative assessment of relative desirability or acceptability of patients. So this is thinking about alternatives or choice among outcomes, or maybe different ways to think about your health interventions. So a patient preference information captures that value that patients place on the aspect of the device. We're trying to account for different perspectives on benefit and risk, and especially in the way that people use that device to treat their conditions. So patient preference information is not patient-reported outcomes. It is slightly different. So I thought it would be helpful just to kind of outline how a device comes to market. And so the schematic that is from dark orange all the way to green really is the total product life cycle of a device. So it starts from an idea, working through the invention and the prototyping, testing that in a preclinical setting, perhaps going back and changing the prototype before going back through testing into clinical trials, and then obviously a decision-making and a launch of that product. So it's a very systematic process that it takes in order to make sure that those devices are both safe, and that they work as the label says. What's also shown on this schematic is in those black boxes with the arrows is the places where patients can have an input into the development of that device. And you can see it along the whole product life cycle. What we're talking about today is over by that green area, what's called regulatory decision-making. And we're looking at this benefit risk information that we refer to often as patient preferences. So if you think about a patient preference study, this is a research method, right? We're trying to produce an estimate of available desirability or acceptability of a certain aspect of that device. So it is really systematic in nature. This is not just your preference in general for how you want your treatment to be run. This is really a very systematic way of understanding how you interact with that device. So potential attributes that might be looking at the benefit side of the device could be your ability to take fewer blood pressure medications or have fewer restrictions in your diet, or really thinking about how a device helps you have more dialysis free time. On the opposite side, there might be risks for that device, right? So there might be a higher risk of infection, or there might be a higher risk of complications of that device. And so the study itself is what's going to quantify or qualify that assessment of that individual patient or the population at large. So patient preference studies have already been used by the Food and Drug Administration and the Center for Devices in particular to think about making either approvals or label extensions of a device that's already on the market. The one that will probably be of most interest to our community is the Next Stage device. They did use a patient preference survey to get clearance for their hemodialysis device going, individuals being able to use it by themselves at home. This was an important study that took place and was able to allow individuals to be able to use that Next Stage device without their care partner. And there's been other examples as well in obesity and in ear infection, where a patient preference study really was able to take a total community that may be using that device and really identifying kind of a subset, if necessary, of individuals who are interested in more benefit, but also willing to take more risk for that device. So I want to talk a little bit about the actual activity that's happening right now in our community. We are focused at the Kidney Health Initiative with a team of looking at really integrating patient preferences into regulatory decisions for future dialysis devices. And our objective of the study or the project was really to think about a sustainable strategy for how we could collect this patient preference information, always from a representative sample of dialysis patients in order to think about future dialysis devices. And so our specific objectives are to think about both process, but also outcomes of the survey themselves. So we're piloting a survey that we've developed, and I'm going to tell you about today, to be thinking about both how the survey instrument is developed, how it is administered, or how it's fielded, but then also thinking about this infrastructure piece. How do we allow these surveys to happen more frequently, more often with the end consumers, yourselves as patients? So this is our team that's in place. Jenny Flythe at University of North Carolina Kidney Center and Michelle Tarver at the Center for Devices and Radiological Health at FDA are our primary investigators. We have a long list of clinical advisors, our subcontractor, RTI International, colleagues at both the Kidney Health Initiative as well as FDA. But I really want to point out our patients in particular who've helped us with this survey to date. Derek Forfang, as many of you may know, he is serving as our patient partner on the steering committee. And then we have additional patients in representatives in David White, Carolyn Wilkie, and Nelchi Gedney, who are also helping in terms of the survey actual development or implementation. So huge credit to this group of individuals who've been working on this since late 2019 and will continue through 22. So the scope of our survey is to understand a patient's maximal acceptable risk for a future wearable device. That wearable device could be a hemodialysis or a peritoneal dialysis. And we really we've scoped this to a wearable device just because these are probably more near term and more useful to the FDA. But there are obviously future iterations of dialysis that are coming, including implantable devices. We are comparing, because you always have to have a comparator in your study, we're comparing individuals' interest in a wearable device to their in-center dialysis experience. Individuals could fill out the survey in either English or Spanish. And again, as we're going back to really understanding that maximal acceptable risk, we have to pick some device attributes. We have to think about what elements that differentiate a wearable device from an in-center device. Could we actually better understand that risk-benefit analysis? And so we've picked the serious risk of infection and the serious risk of bleeding. And those two attributes did come after focus groups and discussions with patients to really understand which elements of the devices, the future devices, are of most interest to them. So we thank everyone who participated in that process for us. So our methodology is a complex one. I would say that for this group, I just wanted you to know we're using a threshold technique. We will be doing additional analysis to also be thinking about future clinical trials in this space. But I'll point you to the picture on the right, which is probably the easiest schematic to understand the methodology behind the survey. So again, we have our in-center comparator on the middle column, and we have the future wearable device, which we have described in the survey on the right side. And ultimately, through a series of questions, the individual who's completing the survey will choose which of the two options are of most interest to them. And so in this case, in this option, you have a 1% risk of, less than 1% risk of serious bleeding with an in-center device, and you have an 8% risk of serious bleeding with a wearable dialysis device. And patients are asked to switch. And because it's a threshold technique, those numbers continue to change until we ultimately get to the point where the patient says, too much risk, I wouldn't use that future device compared to what my experience was in center. It's just too much. And that's where their threshold kind of comes in. So our sampling and our analysis and eligibility, for those that are interested, we're looking to have 400 completed surveys. Again, what's most important to us is making sure that we get diverse and representative dialysis patient population. We really want to understand everyone's perspective or some segment of everyone's perspective in this survey so that we don't sway the future, the information in any way in terms of future device development. So we'll be looking at analysis for both understand the modality. So how do the in-center patients versus those that are currently on home hemodialysis or currently using peritoneal dialysis, how do they identify that maximal acceptable risk? We'll also be looking to understand for those that have only been on dialysis for less than a year, what's their acceptable risk versus those who have maybe been on dialysis much longer. We'll be looking at age and then also be thinking about it in the Spanish-speaking and English-speaking populations. So your eligibility to be able to take this survey is that you must be in the United States, you must be 22 years or older, you must have ESKD or currently receiving dialysis treatment, and you had to have been dialysis for a minimum of 3 months. So there's no kidney transplant patients that will be able to take this. And if you're obviously participating in a clinical trial right now for renal replacement therapy device, you would not be able to participate in this survey. We have a huge acknowledgement and thanks to all of our partners who are helping us field this survey and make sure that patients understand that they have an opportunity to participate. AAKP, American Kidney Fund, Home Dialyzers United, and National Kidney Foundation have been our patient organization partners. And then U.S. Renal Care has been our partner as we think about fielding this survey in the dialysis unit or with additional kind of home dialysis patients. You know, this work could not be done both without that leadership team that I referenced early and as well as kind of these partnerships that we have in place through the Kidney Health Initiative. This is really a community-wide effort that we want to make sure that all patients have the opportunity, if they would like, to be one of those 400 individuals who've completed the survey. So to date, we have obviously finalized the research question, focusing in on dialysis, wearable dialysis device, thinking about the methodology that we would use. We've developed protocols, we've done environmental scans. We interviewed patients to refine the patient preference information and understand which attributes of the devices would be most important. We drafted the survey and finalized that through a number of different means, and we are currently fielding the survey. There are some publications, if you're interested in this topic or interested in learning more, they can be found on the Kidney Health Initiative website. They are open access. If you're interested in the AAKP is welcome to share those links with all of you. So we've accomplished since November of 2019, we've accomplished quite a bit. So in summary, this project was included in the Advancing American Kidney Health Initiative work plan. We are obviously focusing on this as a pilot, but it's a critical step in really understanding how to collect patient preference information in an ongoing perspective. The survey, as I've mentioned multiple times, is in the field, and our results will be available in 2022. Anyone who's participated in the survey and is interested in receiving the results, we will send them to them directly, but then also we'll put it in the public domain for anyone that's interested. So again, thank you for the opportunity to participate in the session today. For more information on this project or other projects of the Kidney Health Initiative, please visit the website, www.kidneyhealthinitiative.org. My colleagues, Mark Lim, Megan Malley, or myself, we're happy to answer any questions, and also encourage you, if you're interested in this project, to reach out to Diana or any of the leaders at AAKP. Thank you again.
Thank you, Melissa, for that excellent presentation. AAKP is proud to be a partner in this research project.